Okay, we're gonna work on 3-8 continued, and we're still solving equations and formulas. So I want to work on those a little bit. So this first problem here, the example is about circumference of a circle. So the circumference equals pi times d represents the circumference of a circle or the distance around the circle. Okay, so circumference equals pi times d, where d is the diameter, okay? And that circumference in pi we know is approximately 3.14, okay? If an airplane could fly around the Earth at the equator without stopping, it would have traveled about 2,900 miles. Find the diameter of the Earth. So the circumference is 24,900, and so that plugs into C. This plugs into pi, and we're going to find the diameter. Okay, so the first thing they want you to do is solve for d. So we have C pi equals pi times d. What are we solving for? D. What's standing in the way? Times pi. How do we get rid of times pi? Divide by pi on both sides. So now we have C divided by pi equals diameter. Okay? Or you can write it with D over here. Okay? So now the diameter equals the circumference divided by 3.14. Okay? And I don't know where my calculator is, but the answer is 7,930. Okay. Okay, it was rounded up to 30, which is okay because we had the approximately symbols. I'm not going to get technical if you don't use those and if you use those, as long as we know the difference. When your answer contains pi in it, then like say you say the circumference equals pi times d. So if you wanted the exact circumference, let's say you had a circle and the radius is 3 and the diameter equals 6. Then if the diameter was 6, you would say C equals 6 pi. That's the exact answer. But if you say C equals, and you say it equals 18.84 units, then that would be about, because you rounded it to pi. Okay, so this is the approximate and this is the exact, just to let you know. Okay, so that's why they used the squiggly lines right there, but they used the equal sign right there, just to let you know. That's the difference. Okay, so we're going on to the next one where it talks about geometry. The reason why I paused is because they should have used squiggly lines right here too, and they didn't. That's what I was looking at. Okay. Geometry. The volume of a cylinder is given by the formula V equals pi r squared times h. And actually what volume is volume actual equals area of the base times height. And since it's a cylinder, the base is a circle. So the area of the base, area of this circle equals pi r squared. Okay? So that area of the base is what they put there, and that's how they got volume equals pi r squared times height. Okay? You might have missed that because we got cut short last year, and I just wanted to review that. Also, that's 8th grade math, and you've skipped 8th grade math. Okay? So r is the radius, and remember, radius goes halfway across the circle. See, if you look at a circle, remember when you were a kid and you were learning your letters, and they said r goes halfway across the line and d goes all the way across the line? Well, that's how you can remember radius is halfway across the circle and diameter is all the way across the circle. So radius goes halfway across the circle and diameter goes all the way across the circle. Okay? R is the radius and H is the height. Okay? It says solve the formula for H. So H, what's standing in its way? Times pi r squared. How do you get rid of the times pi r squared? You divide by pi r squared. So now we have H equals volume divided by pi r squared. Okay? Now it says, find the height of a cylinder with a volume of 25 pi and a radius, and the unit of measure they're using is feet, and the radius is 10 feet. Okay? So we say the volume equals 2,500 pi, and the radius equals 10. Okay? So here we have the height equals 2,500 pi over pi 10 squared. Now these are all multiplication. And if you had something like 10 and you had 12, couldn't you reduce that? Okay, I want to just show you the explanation of what I'm doing so you can remember it. Now, doesn't 10 over 12 equal 5 over 6? And what you did was you divided each of them by 2 to get that. So you could really look at 10 as 5 times 2, and you could think of 12 as 6 times 2, right? So we can cancel out the 2's to get 5 over 6. So what I am saying is when you have something on top that's the same as the thing on the bottom and it's timesing, not adding or subtracting, because those are two different terms. This is all one term and this is all one term. Okay, so when you have multiplication and you have the same thing, you can just cross it out, to be 1, 2 over 2 is 1, because that's what you did here. You divided 10 by 2, divided 12 by 2. So you can cross it out. So that means here that if you have a times pi and a times pi, you can just cross those out to simplify. Okay? So now we have height equals 2,500 over 100, because 10 squared is 100. Now we can cancel out the zeros, kind of the same thing, and we get H equals 25. Okay? All right. Now let's go to water pressure. The pressure on a submerged object is given by pressure equals 64 times the depth. where P is the pressure in pounds per square foot and D is the depth of the object in feet. Okay. Solve the formula for D. So we have P equals 64D. This one's really easy. You divide each side by 64 and you get D equals P over 64. And I was thinking, see, this is kind of the same thing. This is 64 times 1, and this is 64 times D. And see, you had the same thing on top and bottom, and you just canceled it out. So that's kind of another explanation of why that worked when we canceled out the pi. Okay? So D equals pounds per square inch over 64. Okay? Find the depth of the submerged object if the pressure is 672 pounds per square foot. So D, the depth equals 672 divided by 64. So D equals, well, 64 times 10 equals 640. And then we have 32 left over, and 32 is half of 64, so it would be 0.5. So 10.5, okay? And you could also have done it like this. See, because anytime you multiply something by 5, you multiply it by 10 and then half it. And that is, but I know when I have a 32, half of it, I know it's going to be a 5. Okay. Okay. So it's, the depth would be 10.5 feet. Okay. Let's go on to number 3. The equation of a line containing points A0 and 0B is given by the formula x over A plus y over B equals 1. Now, anytime you have and 0, that means that this one here, the y value is 0. So this would be the x-intercept. And here, if the y value is 0, no, this would be the y-intercept, and this would be the x-intercept. Because when you have a coordinate plane, if the y value is 0, then whatever a is, that's where the point would be. So whatever the x value is, that's where the point would be on the x-axis. So when y is 0, that's the x-intercept. And when y is 0, x is 0, then wherever it is on the y. So this is the y-intercept. Because the definition of y-intercept is when x is 0, and this is the x-intercept, just to let you know. And that means where it crosses that axis. Okay. So whenever there's a 0 inside a coordinate plane, you know it's an intercept. Okay. All right, and that means where it crosses. So here we have the formula x over A plus y over B equals 1. Now it says solve for y. Let's use our verbiage. What's the variable? Y. What's standing in the way of y being by itself? Well, a plus x over A and a divide by B. Which is further away? The plus x over A. So we subtract each side by x over A. And then we have y over B equals 1 over, oops, nope. Y over B equals negative x over A plus 1. And I should have probably wrote the 1 first, but it doesn't matter because you can add in any order. Okay, now we're going to multiply each side by b, because what's the variable y? What's standing in the way? Divide by b, so you times by b. Okay, so now we have y equals b times negative x over a plus 1. Okay, so I've solved for y. Suppose the line contains the points 4, 0, and 0, negative 2. If x equals 3, find y. Okay, so we got our 2 points. So this is x, y, x, y, and then, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. This one here is A, see? And this one here is B. Okay. Let me label it down here, A and B. And this is x equals 3. Okay. I use the marker because it seems to show up better, and I'm willing to scribble out in order to use a marker so you can see it. And you're more than welcome to use pen to do your math. That's not something I care about. Okay. So y equals, and b is negative 2, x is 3, so negative x is negative 3, a is 4, plus 1. Now here, you could combine the inside first, or you can distribute. I'm going to combine the inside first. Negative 3/4 plus 1 is 1/4, because, okay, and then times negative 2, a negative times a positive is negative, and 2 times 1/4 is 1/2. Okay? Now, let me just show you how it would have been if we distributed. If we distributed this, we would have gotten a positive 3/2 when we multiplied that. Negative times a negative is a positive. And if we cross simplified, we'd have a 2 on the bottom and 1 on top. And we would do 1 times negative 3. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3 and 2 on the bottom. Then negative 2 times positive 1 is negative 2. Okay. And then if we have 1.5 minus 2 is negative 1/2. So it would have been the same if we distributed. Okay. So y equals 1/2. So the point would be if it had these 2 points, we would also have a point that would be 3 and negative 1/2. Okay. And I'm just curious about that, so I'm going to see how that looks. Okay, so if we have and we have 4, 0, and 0, negative 2, and that's my line. If x equals 3, find y, negative 1/2. That looks like it's right. Okay. So negative 1/2 for y does fit on that line. I've never seen this equation before. I thought it was very interesting. Okay. Well, if that's 0 and that is 0, no. Oh, well. That's something to learn for later. All right, now we have the next one. Oh, this one is very difficult, so I hope you'll enjoy it. Okay. The surface area of a rectangle solid is given by the formula S equals 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH. Okay. And I would just like to explain to you real quick that when you are looking at the surface area of a rectangular object, this is the rectangular solid. And as I said, you've missed some of this from not having, okay? So there's your rectangular solid. And when you do the surface area, it might look like, all right, these are the two, front and back. And then this is the bottom, okay? The bottom. And then this is the side. And then this would be the top, okay? And this would be the other side, okay? So if you have width times length times height, and you have 6 sides, so it would be, for the bottom, it would be W times L, or L times W, either way, L times W, okay? And then for the side would be L times H. And then for the back would be W times H. But if you notice, there's 2 of each. So that's why you have to multiply them each by 2. So that's why you multiply them each by 2. Now, I used to say it would be this times this plus this times this plus this times this, and all of it times 2 for the surface area. But they distributed the 2, okay, to make it more simplified, okay? So I want to explain to you that's how they get surface area, okay? Now we're going to go back to the problem and say surface area equals 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH, where L equals length, W equals width, and H equals height. Solve the formula for H. Now I'd like to call your attention to the fact that H is in two different terms. When you have 2 different terms where H is inside of it, you are going to have to factor that H out, okay? You're going to have to factor out the H, okay? So what you're going to have to first do is get rid of this one that doesn't have an H. So how do we get rid of a 2LW? We subtract 2LW from both sides, okay? All right, so now we have 2 terms with an H in it. And that's when we can, you know how when we have, something like this, we would factor out a 3 and we would get x plus 3? We're doing the same thing, only instead of factoring out a number, we're factoring out a letter, okay? So we have S plus 2LW equals, we're factoring out the H, and we get 2L plus 2W, okay? Now we have H by itself. What's standing in the way of H being by itself? A times 2L plus 2W. So we have to divide both sides by 2L plus 2W. So now we get H equals S minus 2LW over 2L plus 2W. okay? And they said that the surface area of a rectangular solid, the length equals 6, the width equals 3, and the surface area equals 72. And we want to find the height, okay? So height equals 72 minus 2 times 6 times 3 over 2 times 6 plus 2 times 3. So if we simplify, we get 72 minus 12 times 3 is 36. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 6. So H equals 36 over 18. So the height equals 2. Okay? So let's see if that figures in. We said the surface area is 72. The height is 2. W is 3. And L is 6. 2 times 18 is 36. 2 times 12 is 24. And 2 times 6 is 12. 12 and 24 is 36. 36 and 36 is 72. And that checks. Okay? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're successful in doing the problems that I assign on your own. If you have any problems, I can help you out. This was a very important concept there. Thank you.